Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ dhammāṃ saṅghāṃ namasāmi. Blessings, good evening. Today is the full moon, Uposatha day in the Theravada Buddhist calendar. Also happens to be Father's Day in Australia, and also in the Buddhist calendar it's the day we say we have the custom or the tradition of opening the gates of heaven and hell, and people come to the monastery to make merit for their dead relatives, believing that it's a good time to make merit. All happening on one day. So a busy day in the Buddhist world. As is our custom on this day, the Uposatha day, we just chanted the parittas, verses of protection, which have been chanted over the centuries to develop good energy and protective energy. Can be a good way to develop samadhi, because by focusing on the words, and if you've been listening, there were a lot of parittas, a lot of different verses we chanted. It can really help you to concentrate your mind, particularly if you've been tired or distracted earlier in the day. The chanting, the words, the sound, the concentration you need to do that can give rise to many wholesome states of mind, can give rise to the factors of samadhi. So when we talk about samadhi, we usually talk about the 5 factors of the first jhana, vitakka, vichara. So if you put your attention on the recitation of a paritta, you probably have to have faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha first for you to want to do this. But once you've got some faith and confidence in the Buddha, putting your attention on the words, reciting them, best of all is from memory, but if you can't remember, then from reading. And also if you chant as a group, often you get the help of the other people chanting around you as well. That can be supportive. But putting your mind on the words, bringing them to mind or keeping them in mind, that's vitakka, lifting your mind to the object, just as if you were practicing breath meditation or any other method of bhavana meditation. Vitakka means sustaining attention, so keeping your attention on the chanting from word to word, sentence to sentence, not straying from the chant and not falling asleep, not being distracted by other things coming up in your mind or around. So vitakka and vichara you can train and practice as you chant. And quite often as people chant, because they do have faith, gives rise to piti, pramodya, this quality of rapture, and the brightness of the mind comes up, if only a little bit. Partly because you're pushing away or letting go of all the other distracted thoughts. So maybe unwholesome states of mind, worries, fears, anger. Drop away if you're really concentrating your mind on the chanting, on the words. So it brightens your mind. and even can bring sukha vedana and sukha, this feeling of pleasure based on turning away from worldly dhammas and the 5 hindrances to focus your mind on the Dhamma, in this case the Dhamma of chanting or reciting. And maybe even one-pointedness of a level, a certain level. You can't be absolutely one-pointed if you're chanting, because you have to also think of the words. If you become really one-pointed, you might stop chanting and enter a state of deep samadhi, and that happens sometimes. But as you're chanting, you might still attain a certain level of samadhi, one-pointedness, a great sense of equanimity, evenness of mind comes up because your mindfulness is becoming consistent and strong as you chant. So that's one aspect of chanting, helping to develop samadhi, but also there's the meaning of the words, which also can be inspiring and even help you to abandon unwholesome states of mind by focusing your mind on the wholesome, the meaning of the chant. So as you chant paritas, you quite often one word or one phrase would trigger a reflection on the Dhamma. As you're chanting, it reminds you of something. And this can also bring peace and calm, concentrated state of mind. Brings you some understanding or reminds you of Dhamma that maybe you've heard before but you've forgotten, and so on. This can be very helpful. Right? When people find they're very overwhelmed by certain emotional states and the mind is just not settling down in any form of meditation, then quite often chanting can help overcome that. As I said, it's Father's Day today in Australia, so like when we chant the Mangala Sutta, the blessings, 38 blessings, one of the blessings is Mata Pitu Upathanang, supporting your parents is a blessing, it's an auspicious blessing. It's a reminder that this is very powerful, good karma, and it's an act of gratitude, appreciation to parents. Father's Day is a day you remember some of the good of your father in particular, the sacrifices, the help he's given you, maybe the good example he set, all kinds of things that fathers teach us, guide us with, help us with, sometimes practical, sometimes spiritual. Even the Buddha took his role as a father seriously, and when he first went back to visit his family after his enlightenment, he went to see his son, Rahula, and taught him the Dhamma, which Rahula called his inheritance. So often people are concerned more with the monetary or the wealth, the inheritance of property or whatever from a parent when they pass away. But the inheritance of the Dhamma is just the teachings of the Dhamma for freeing the mind from suffering. And that's what the Buddha gave, or started to give Rahula, and he proceeded to teach him until he was fully enlightened over the next period of time. So that's the greatest gift a parent might give to their child, practicing the Dhamma, being an example the best they can. That doesn't mean to say you have to be perfect, but recognizing the importance of practicing the Dhamma, putting some effort into that, and then passing that on to their child is a great gift to the child. So this is a day you might recognize that, whatever gifts of Dhamma you've received from your parents, particularly from your father. And then maybe even making an aspiration, a determination to support your father if he's still alive, especially if he's reached old age, because in old age we need help. The body gets weaker, the memory sometimes goes, the eyes, the ears go, everything is harder. So the older we get, the more help we need, or we can appreciate some assistance, some support. And so that's an auspicious blessing to support your mother, your father. So that one chant, it reminds you of so many different blessings. I'm just picking out one because it's timely. But as you chant the Mangala Sutta, it reminds you of different important aspects of the practice. So it's good once in a while to read the translation. If you're not familiar with it, reminds you what the words mean. Or another chant we did, the Wataka Parita, the quail's protection, Atiloke, which was, so the legend, so the story goes, the Buddha gave at a time when he was on Bindabat with Ananda, and there was a bushfire. I'm sure in India they get bushfires just as Australia, and the bushfire was threatening the local village where the Buddha was walking, and Ananda said, "What shall we do?" And the Buddha said, "Don't worry, it will go out," with his sort of confidence, and it did. The bushfire, the wind changed direction, which is quite common with bushfires. It changed direction and took the bushfire away from them, so there was no threat in the end. And then the Buddha talked about a past life of his, that he had been a baby quail. As a bodhisattva, even a bodhisattva can be born as a baby quail, and when it's still in its nest on the ground, couldn't fly, couldn't walk because it's so young, the body wasn't fully formed. A bushfire came, very strong, raging bushfire, and mother and father bird flew away. Their instinct, survival instinct, took them away, but the little bird couldn't fly. So it's like, uh-oh. But because the little bird was bodhisattva, made an adhitthana, because bodhisattvas can do that. They've made so much good karma over so many lifetimes, such powerful, good qualities in their heart, even though the body was a frail little bird. It just said, as an act of truth, may the power of the Buddha Dhamma Sangha and the goodness in my heart, may this bushfire stop or go in a different direction. I don't have legs to run, I don't have wings to fly, but I do have the power of truth. And a bodhisattva practices cultivating the 10 baramis, and one of them is Satya Barami, truth. The firm intention to realize the truth as a Buddha. That's a very powerful thought or intention. So the little quail brought that up, said these words, and the bushfire didn't come, or moved away, or went out perhaps. So it's one we chant regularly in the summer here, where bushfires are possible. So all these paritas, they remind us of points of Dhamma, whether it's to do with meditation, samatha, vipassana meditation, precepts, generosity, or various virtues, different good qualities. They all are both reminders, but also it's a meditation in itself as you chant, if you're doing it with mindfulness. So on days like this, full moon day, Father's Day as well, and a day to make merit for the dead ancestors, we have to practice for ourselves to develop our own mind at this time. So we come together, we chant, we meditate, we listen to the Dhamma. All of this is training our heart. When you practice meditation, this is probably the most direct way to improve your barami and improve your state of mind, quality of your life, really. It has such a powerful effect when you train in mindfulness, practice mindfulness. So any of the parittas could be recited as a form of meditation over and over again, or one word. So in Thailand we used to use the word Buddho, but some people recite Itipiso, Bhagawa, for example, or Bahum, or any of these parittas. If they bring up some joy for you and some meaning, then they can be used as a form of barikamma meditation, where you recite over and over again, whether it's one word or a whole phrase. The idea being, you're developing or strengthening mindfulness, because that's the quality most of us lack when we start practicing Buddhism. We can hear the teachings, read them, learn them, but when it comes to actually keeping the mind with mindfulness and clear comprehension, we're not so good at that. So this is one way you can practice. You can recite words, phrases from the teachings, from the suttas, from the parittas, or one of the traditional meditation objects, such as mindfulness of breathing, recollection of death, so on. The idea is to continuously keep the object in mind as much as possible, and as the mind strays away into thoughts and feelings and itches and painful legs and all the things that normally distract us, to work to let go of the tendency towards distraction and to stay with the meditation object. And you also gain a lot of wisdom as you're doing this. Wisdom isn't something that you get in the far off future when you've developed samadhi. As you're practicing meditation, if you stay observant and you do it regularly, you'll learn many things about your mind, and you'll observe, like, where does all this distraction come from? Why do I become prey to different emotions? Happiness, sadness, anger, boredom, excitement, and so on. Where does it all come from? And you might follow the Buddhist teachings, but investigate for yourself, and you see, most of it is being stimulated by sense contact. Because as you practice mindfulness, you can't help but notice sense contact taking place. So often we limit the sense contact when you meditate. So if you're sitting, you close your eyes, sit in a quiet place. If you're walking, you might walk in a quiet place. You can't completely cut off the sense contact and impingement around you, but you minimize it to help. But then also you observe how your mind is constantly going out through the senses. All day long it does this, and much of the time it's unmanaged, ungoverned. We're not fully aware or fully in charge of what's going on. And the mind loves to go out and get caught up in the world. We often think the world is giving us problems, impinging on us, bringing trouble to us, but it's actually the other way around. And you start noticing this in meditation, how your mind is curious, wants to know things, get involved with things, it wants to see, hear, taste, touch, smell, and of course just think, endlessly thinking and desiring in the mind itself. It's us going out to the world, or our mind goes out to the world. And the less mindfulness we have, the less restraint, the less clear comprehension we have, the more it does this. You'll notice when you feel most stressed, say you're really afraid or worried, or you have a really strong desire, your mind is kind of like straining to go out to something, some object. And fear is nearly always connected to some concern about a person or a place or a situation outside. It arises internally. There's a feeling and there's a train of thought, but often it's associated with your mind thinking about something out there. Lust and greed are the same. There's something attractive out there which brings you pleasure, but there's an object that your mind is going to first. So much of life we don't notice all this. We don't notice the mind going around getting involved with the world until the stress level comes up, and then we say, oh, life is difficult, or my mind is not peaceful, or there's this problem, this is happening, that's happening. But as you meditate, you're bringing up mindfulness, strength of mind, so that you can observe what's going on. So like when a desire does come up, your desire to get something or have a certain kind of pleasure, or something you think of and you want, or something available for you that you would like to enjoy, to indulge in, or there's something that you're experiencing you don't like, some painful, unpleasant experience. These are desires that come up, and what happens is the mind takes ownership. My desire, my wanting, my not wanting, I want this, I don't want that, I like this, I don't like that. And the cause of suffering for us is this taking ownership or identifying with the wanting, the liking, or we'd say craving, tanha. Craving, tanha, is a cause for upadana, clinging, attachment. Clinging attachment is really the sense of self, because we attach to self-view, the body, the mind, thoughts, everything as self, as me, mine, myself. We take ownership, and then we start to suffer. Whereas if you have enough mindfulness, what happens is your mind becomes more independent, more separate. So thoughts may still be arising, feelings are being experienced, you may see things, hear things, taste things if your eyes are open, and so on. But because mindfulness is stronger, maybe you don't take ownership of all these desires, you just watch them. There's a sense of detachment or distance between the one watching and the desire. And that always brings up a question, well, who is it who's observing, who's watching, observing, or knowing, who's the knower? If there's a desire, who knows the desire? Which is a valid question, and you have to keep investigating that as well. In the end, it's just another quality of mind, the knowing, the mindfulness, the clear comprehension, the wisdom, the panya, that knows things. But at first, when you're developing this, what leads you on or encourages you maybe is the sense of peace. It's peaceful when your mindfulness is strong. Desires can arise, but you can watch them. They arise, pass away. You don't have to take ownership of them, cling to them as self, as mine. The desire is still there. It comes up mainly through past conditioning, old habits, and also with triggers, external triggers. So you may hear something you like or don't like, see something you like or don't like. You have this stimulation, but when mindfulness comes up, then it's just, there is liking, there is disliking. And you probably can be mindful enough and investigate enough to know why you like something, why you don't like something. You can hold the desire in mind, you can hold a thought in mind, but you don't have to grasp hold of it or cling tightly to it. You just know it and then let it go. And this is what mindfulness and clear comprehension allows you. It allows wisdom to analyze, investigate things without necessarily getting too involved. So when mindfulness is strong, you can see an emotional reaction to something. You can see or know fear, but then put it down or let it go. You can see, know lust, greed, anger, worry. You can see these different emotional states, but then put them down again. So you can really understand them as impermanent, not self. When mindfulness is not very strong, well, we just grasp hold of everything and we become happy, sad, angry, worried. And that's why we experience stress. The more we think, the more we hold on, the more stressed and unhappy we feel, the less peace we have. So the Buddha was encouraging us to find ways to bring up more mindfulness, more of this quality of knowing. the more we practice, the better we can maintain mindfulness, the more this sense of detached awareness is there. The less the sense of a self who's grasping hold of everything. You're just knowing things. And it's very peaceful, and it allows you to really contemplate and see the true characteristics of your experience. So even reciting paritas or Buddhist chants and verses can bring you to that point where you can see the impermanent nature of thoughts, emotions arising, passing away, sounds coming and going. You can have a thunderstorm raging around you, but it's just a thunderstorm. It's just noise and wind, lightning. Whatever it is going on in the world, you can know it, but you don't necessarily have to grasp it. You can maintain more equanimity, more peace. From that peace you gain understanding, insight, wisdom, and then maybe next time you don't have to grasp so tightly to these different experiences. You learn what leads to suffering, so then you don't follow the same old patterns of mind so much. You can only do that through the practice. So maybe for today I'll just give you this much guidance, and afterwards if anyone has any questions, we can do our best to answer them.